can absolutely enjoy Charlestown Harbour and still leave thinking, was that it? Because Charlestown is beautiful, but it's also small, busy at the wrong times, and very easy to misunderstand. The difference usually comes down to three things: when you visit, what you expect, and whether you treat it like somewhere to rush through or somewhere to slow down. Charlestown sits just south of St Austell on Cornwall's south coast, only a few minutes off the main roads around the bay. But the important thing to understand straight away is this: Charlestown is a harbour village first, not a traditional seaside resort. You're not really coming here for arcades, nightlife, surf beaches, or a packed list of attractions. You're coming for the harbour itself, the granite walls, ship masts, gulls overhead, old quaysides, and that slightly cinematic feeling that makes the whole place look like a film set before anyone even starts filming. The visual atmosphere is a huge part of why people remember it. The area around the water is free to wander, and a typical visit here is fairly simple. Walk by the water, take a few photos, look around the smaller shops, maybe stop for lunch, a drink or an ice cream nearby. And then either move on, add a coastal walk, or pair it with somewhere else around St Austell Bay. That simplicity is part of the appeal. It's also where Charlestown loses some people. If you arrive expecting constant activity, you can end up feeling like you've done it all surprisingly fast. For most trips, Charlestown works best as a 1 or 2 hour stop, longer if you're eating there or adding in a walk. So let's start with that thing that changes the visit most: timing. I've been here plenty of times in peak summer, and I've always understood why people thought it looked beautiful. Not always why it seemed to have such a loyal pull. Then you come back on a much quieter morning and it feels like a completely different place. That's when it starts to make sense why people keep returning. On quiet mornings outside school holidays, Charlestown can feel strangely calm for somewhere so well known. You hear the rope cracking against the boat, seabirds echo around the harbour walls. There's less traffic, less rushing, and people just drift slowly around the water. But in peak summer, especially around the middle of the day, the mood shifts quite a bit. By midday, the harbour paths can turn into slow-moving photo queues. Cafes get busy, parking gets tighter. And the feeling of a place changes before you've even reached the waterfront. That's why earlier mornings are usually the best time to experience Charlestown if you can. Late afternoon into early evening can work really nicely too, once some of the daytime traffic clears. Now the practical bit, because parking can make or break this visit, driving is definitely the easiest way to visit. You can visit without a car if you're staying around St Austell, but driving gives you much more flexibility, especially if you're pairing it with beaches, walks or nearby villages. Charlestown is straightforward enough to reach by road, but the lanes immediately around the harbour are narrow, and parking becomes the main issue during busy periods. If you arrive late on a sunny day, there's a decent chance part of your visit becomes circling for parking or walking further than expected. And honestly, if your first 10 minutes in Charlestown are spent looking for a space, you're already seeing the least charming version of it. Once parked, the village itself is compact and walkable, though it isn't completely flat, and some of the older surfaces around the harbour can be uneven. It still feels like a working historic harbour rather than a fully modernised promenade. And if you're visiting with young children or dogs, the harbour edges are something to keep an eye on, especially when it gets busy. Weather changes the visit quite a bit too. Charlestown is fairly exposed around the waterfront, so strong wind, drizzle or flat grey weather can drain the mood quickly if your whole plan depends on sitting outside or lingering around the harbour. It can still look good in rougher conditions, arguably even more dramatic sometimes, but it becomes more of a shorter wander than the centrepiece of your day. There isn't a huge amount of indoor fallback if the weather turns properly bad. Another thing people often wonder about is the tall ships. If there are tall ships in the harbour, they definitely add to the atmosphere. But they're not always there, so it's worth seeing them as a bonus rather than the main reason to visit. Even without them, the harbour walls, water and the old quayside still give Charlestown plenty of character. For photographers, Charlestown is one of those places that gives you a lot without making you work very hard. Early morning light, reflections or calmer days, and the contrast between stone walls, water and the masts give you plenty to work with without needing to walk far. Families with younger children often enjoy it too, especially if they already like boats and harbours. And it's worth saying clearly, Charlestown isn't mainly a beach destination. There is a small pebble beach beside the harbour, but if your priority is sand, swimming, paddling, or a classic bucket and spade beach day, other parts of St Austell Bay are usually a better fit. That's why Charlestown works especially well as a part of a wider St Austell Bay day out. You could pair it with a coastal walk, one of the nearby beaches, or somewhere like Mevagissey, where you get another harbour setting but with a bit more movement through the day. Food is one of the easiest ways to turn Charlestown from a quick photo stop into a proper visit. The harbour's cafes, pubs, and outdoor seating encourage you to stay longer, especially into the evening once the daytime crowds begin to thin out. If there's somewhere specific you want to eat in peak season, especially in the evening, booking ahead is a sensible idea. Weekend evenings can still feel lively, but generally this is when Charlestown becomes calmer again. It suits sunset walks, relaxed diners, and wandering along the waterfront far more than nightlife or late entertainment. And as a place to stay, Charlestown suits people who want a quieter, atmospheric base near St Austell Bay rather than somewhere with loads happening every night. So who is Charlestown best for? I think it works best if your idea of a good stop is a harbour wonder, a few photos, food near the water, and not needing a packed schedule. Couples often get a lot out of it because it naturally lends itself to wandering, eating, and sitting by the harbour for a while. Families can enjoy it too, especially as a shorter stop. But it works best with children who are happy with boats, harbour views, and food rather than beaches and big attractions. Where Charlestown usually struggles is with anyone expecting a major beach town or a full-day resort. It works best when you stop treating it like a checklist destination. So is Charlestown Harbour worth visiting? Yeah, absolutely, but only if you stop trying to complete it. Give it a bit of time. Pair it with a walk, a beach, lunch, or another stop around St Austell. Stop looking for the next thing to do, and eventually you'll realise Charlestown was never really about doing very much in the first place. Thanks for watching. Until next time, cheers you.